Donald Trump is on the cover of Time magazine again this week, and they did an exclusive interview with him, fretting about if he wins. And in that interview, he made some very interesting comments, which has upset the usual suspects. The DEI destroyer, the didn't earn it destroyer. Trump vows to crush anti-white racism if he wins 2024 election. This is from the Time magazine exclusive. Trump says anti-white feeling is a problem in the U.S. Oh, it's more than a problem. It's been such a problem that now Donald Trump is addressing it, telling them, if you look at the Biden administration, they're sort of against anybody depending on certain views. They're against Catholics. They're against a lot of different people. I think there is a definite anti-white feeling in this country, and that can't be allowed either. The article goes on to complain in Trump's first term, his Justice Department investigated universities over affirmative action admission policies they believed let me just correct this misinformation, did discriminate against white applicants. Last year, the Supreme Court banned race-based affirmative action from college admissions. Perhaps the most offended are the old bags over at The View. Here's Whoopi Goldberg.
There's also, this is my favorite.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you before I say it that it enraged me. There is a definite anti-white feeling in the country right now.
Oh, please.
Yeah, that's what he said. You know, sir.
No. Sir?
Yeah, sir.
This is your black fragility showing, Whoopi. Try to pull yourself together.
Nobody in your family was hung. Nobody in your family was chased because of the color of their skin. How dare you? There's no anti-white issue here. You are perpetrating anti-humanist issues here.
Listen, lady, most black people don't even know who their father is, so I don't want to hear you complaining anymore about what happened 150 years ago. And by the way, over 360,000 white Union soldiers died during the Civil War in order to free the slaves, so the least that she could do is say thank you. Just last week, Tucker Carlson did an entire episode about the anti-white agenda being worse than you thought. We know how bad it is over here, but thankfully Tucker is now alerting people about it. And I tried to correct him to use the right term, anti-whiteism, in the comments, but it looks like my comment got shadow banned because it only got one thumbs up, which is very odd. There's no such thing as systemic anti-whiteism, they say. Meanwhile, you're not even allowed to be proud to be white. That is considered to be a white supremacist slogan, according to Wikipedia, the cultural Marxist online encyclopedia. And according to the ADL, it's not even okay to be white. That is on their list of hate slogans. And all this anti-whiteism is also infecting white liberals, because when somebody catches the liberal pathogen, it affects their mental immune system, and it makes them more prone to a wide variety of mental disorders. Like this college basketball player who won an ESPY award, which is the awards at ESPN for the best athlete in various categories. This clip is actually a couple years old, but it just resurfaced, and it's just as relevant today as it was back then, because this is what happens when you come down with the liberal pathogen.
With the light that I have now, as a white woman who leads a black-led sport and celebrated here, I want to show a light on black women. They don't get the media coverage that they deserve. They've given so much to this sport and the community and society as a whole, and their value is undeniable.
Imagine the greatest achievement of your life, winning an ESPY award, and the only thing that you can think about is your white guilt and how you're taking the spotlight away from black players. Imagine if a black hockey player were to win an ESPY, and then he would shout out the white players and apologize for being the rare black guy in a white-led sport. That would be completely idiotic. Almost as idiotic as the NHL being concerned that there are too many white players in the league. Oh, wait, what's this?
I am proud to release the NHL's inaugural Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Report. When we talk about diversity and inclusion in hockey, We're talking about creating opportunities for everyone to bring their full, authentic selves to the sport.
This is not a parody, by the way. They really did publish this report. It's called Accelerating Diversity and Inclusion in the NHL. Would you like to embarrass yourself and your sport any further, sir?
We find ourselves at an unprecedented inflection point as a society.
Correct. We're in the midst of a communist takeover, and cultural Marxism is affecting the schools, corporate America, the media, and sadly, even sports.
And during the past few years, the NHL has accelerated its efforts to ensure that we continue to grow our sport with a lens on the future, specifically underrepresented groups across gender, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and disability.
Apparently, there aren't enough black, gay, one-eyed hockey players.
We know metrics and accountability are important parts of these efforts, which is why we're releasing a diversity report that explains our goals and our progress to date, with a promise to work toward even more progress in the future.
What about the DEI report for the NBA? How about trying to get some more white players on the team? Of course, that would be absolutely idiotic, just like this. And this, a police officer was fired because he used a Snapchat filter that had a ski mask on it, or a baklava, which is one of the popular filters. If you don't use Snapchat, you can add all these different filters and hats and funny faces onto your videos. And so he decided to add this one, which is a standard filter, which I'm sure has been banned by now or will be soon. And so somebody accused him of wearing blackface, so he has been fired. A lot of people are also concerned that the red light cameras at intersections that automatically take a vehicle's photo if it blows through a red light and then scans the license plate and sends the driver a ticket, they're too pro-white. Chicago's supposed race-neutral traffic cameras ticket black and Latino drivers the most. Well, that's because that demographic happens to blow through red lights the most. So obviously, the 1350 statistic not only applies to violent crime, but also to blowing red lights as well. So the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, am I even allowed to say that? Oppose red lights and speeding camera legislation. So it's not just like a civil rights group that opposes it because it's Orwellian. It's the NAACP because more black people get tickets because they're committing more crimes than white people. Some people believe the cameras will be effective in promoting traffic safety, but the NAACP believes that it will lead to racial profiling. Just like those pesky weapon detectors that school safety advocates are hoping to put up outside of the entrances at high schools in Utah. Will weapon detectors at Salt Lake high schools disproportionately affect students of color? Well, do 13, do 50? We live in a completely insane society. 10 years ago, this would have been a satirical article in The Onion or a meme, but it's real. There's no anti-white sentiment, they say, while a New York State representative celebrates his district losing white population.
I have the distinct honor to be able to come before you and say I actually lost white population in my community. I lost them. They left. They left. I didn't ask them why. They left.
Oh, you don't have to ask why. We all know. But if you're white and you admit the reason why you prefer to live in certain communities instead of others, then people like Ben Shapiro will call you a racist.
Just to rewind for a second, Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, he said some racist stuff, which of course is indeed racist. What he said was in fact racist. You can fully acknowledge Scott Adams' racism and still also recognize that the media would be totally fine with Scott Adams' racism if it was directed in precise reverse at white people. In the United States, if you direct racism against black Americans, that of course is verboten, it's very bad, and you'll have your career ended. And there's a strong case that that ought to be the case because racism is bad.
There's a strong case, Little Ben says, that if you're white and you prefer to live in a white neighborhood, like Scott Adams said, then you should have your career ended, which is exactly what happened because you may recall his syndicator canceled his contract. And so the Dilbert comic, which appeared in newspapers across the country every Sunday for decades, then just disappeared down the memory hole. There's no anti-white sentiment, they say, but Harrison Smith, one of the hosts over at InfoWars, you may recall, took this footage at a makeshift COVID clinic back in 2000 when he was trying to get the colloidal antibodies, but they turned him down, and the nurse admitted that he doesn't qualify because he's white.
So I'm not gonna be able to get it today? Because I don't qualify?
Yeah.
What if I like smoke and vape? I heard that was
Negative.
no? Okay. But if I were black and Hispanic,
Right.
then I'd be able to qualify? Okay. So I'm being denied medical service because of my race, is that?
That's the criteria.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I do, I go in and make sure.
It's the criteria, yeah. Wow, complaining about, criticizing, demonizing, and discriminating against white people is now the norm in universities and in corporate America with all the DEI, mandatory training, and in Silicon Valley, the big tech platforms, the entire liberal media industrial complex. If you happen to criticize somebody who is Jewish or the state of Israel, then a certain group of people wants you expelled from college and arrested. This is a topic I should probably do an entire exclusive video on because there's a lot to get into. Basically, the House of Representatives yesterday, with the support of all but I think 20 Republicans, passed a bill. It's going to be interesting to see if the Senate passes it, if old Joe signs it into law. There's going to be legal battles. This is going to go all the way to the Supreme Court, where it's called the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. And they're trying to mandate that the Department of Education adopt a specific and Orwellian definition of what anti-Semitism supposedly is, which would literally ban quoting the Bible as anti-Semitic. And surprisingly, some pretty big names on the right yesterday denounced this because it's getting pretty hard not to notice certain things. Maybe I'll do an entire in-depth report on this because it's a very important and a gigantic can of worms that the American people should definitely know about. Just like those anti-BDS laws in 38 different states, which ban businesses from criticizing Israel, which you're not supposed to oppose. Otherwise, well, if this law passes, then you will be kicked out of school for being a supposed anti-Semite. But if you want my complete and uncensored commentary and clips that are far too hot to include here on YouTube, then join my Locals community by clicking the link in the description below for $5 a month. It's basically like a private Facebook page, but it's owned by Rumble, so it's a free speech platform, and that's where you'll find all the exclusive stuff that I'm not allowed to show, not allowed to say. It's like my own private members-only blog, essentially. So click the link in the description below, head on over there, and check it out.